Hi, my name's Siobhan Lancaster and I'm the CEO Managing Director of 92 Energy. 92 Energy is an Athabasca Basin explorer in Canada, and we have the Gemini Uranium Discovery.
Siobhan, good to see you again. I thought I'd catch up because the Athabasca sort of hit the headlines recently for lots of reasons. First of all, for a press release you put out, so you're drilling and found a parallel structure to Gemini. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Look, we're really excited about this parallel structure because what we've been doing, exploration in the Athabasca is a process. So what we're trying to do is look for key signals which will indicate to us where potential mother lode is, right? So what this parallel structure tells us is there's a lot of good sort of aspects to the hole that we've drilled over there. So it has hydrothermal alteration, probably the biggest hydrothermal alteration that we've ever seen in the Gemini project. So that's the first massive tick that we have. The second thing it's showing us is uranium pathfinders. And the third thing it's showing us is uranium. So it tells us that we're possibly pretty close by to a substantial additional zone to what we already have at Gemini.
Right, okay. I get we're finding uranium bit, nice. What about hydrothermal and pathfinders? What does that mean?
Yeah, so basically the systems, the way they work in the Athabasca Basin is you have large fluids sort of flowing through a mineralized area, and what it does is it blasts the rock apart. So this is one of the key signals that there's a major sort of system going through the area. And when you see that, it's something, that you really take very seriously. So the more blasted it is, the bigger the system is, right? Or the potential of that system, I should say. And then obviously the uranium pathfinders, are very, very important to see as well because they show us that, they're linked to uranium deposits. So often you have these pathfinders like boron, for example, that are very close to large uranium deposits in the Athabasca. For example, Arrow, Cigar Lake, MacArthur River. So this tells us we're onto something seriously positive here, that we're seeing, this huge hydrothermal alteration running through this structure, which potentially has, had a big uranium system going through it and is going to be trapped nearby where this structure is that we've just intercepted. So very exciting drill hole, and the potential for additional zones is quite substantial, and we're I'm really excited by this drill hole.
Okay, well, let's talk about some additional zones, because I think you've come to the end of the drill program for this season. You've got to assess and analyze the data that you have collected, and I'm kind of interested in so what next? So what is next?
Yeah, so we've obviously spent quite a bit of time looking at this data, and we're still waiting assays. Obviously, they're going to take another 4 weeks or so, but they'll be kind of similar to the grades that we put out. But what we're really looking at the moment is, well, what haven't we drilled? We've got this massive 600-meter strike that we haven't drilled. It's got huge amounts of space for additional zones of mineralization in there. And, hopefully the mother lode is within that nice long strike area that we've got to work our way along. It's really unfortunate that this hole was drilled right at the end of the program and not the beginning of the program. But sometimes that's just the way your luck falls. So we're really looking forward to getting back out there, and we've obviously, been very busy looking at the results, looking at the way the structure works. So 280 meters along, we hit uranium further along that structure. So there seems to be uranium along the way, and, it's just a matter of us really going back out there and drilling where we've never drilled before, on the whole eastern side. So, the fascinating thing is, if you look in the Athabasca Basin at, potential mines, you can see at Rabbit Lake, for example, that they had a parallel structure very similar to what we're looking at now. And that had 2 zones sitting side by side, big zones. So Gemini is obviously a substantial, the GMZ zone that we've already got is a nice, big, chunky, continuous zone of uranium. And hopefully we've got another 1 or 2 of those, along that new parallel structure that we've looked at.
Right, and it's early days. You're an exploration company. The name of the game is drill, raise money, drill, etc. But it's been quite easy for companies to kind of get lost in all the noise, right? So certainly this was sub-$100 million companies, right? So what do you think is important for people to understand about not just the way that you're going about it, but potentially what you've got at the moment and what you're hoping to find with the kind of next drill season?
We are serious explorers. We're all about going out and finding an economic deposit, right? So that is the aim of the game here. So we already have one really good zone that we're working off, and that's the first bit of it. And, we're looking for the additional zones to really build upon that pounds in the ground story, because that's what it's all about. It's about really getting to the point where you've got, enough pounds in the ground to, do a feasibility study over it and, work your way through that process. And, we think that the upside of this parallel structure that we found is pretty tremendous. But the other thing I should really mention is that the way the Athabasca deposits work is that they tend to be discovered along a trend. So you would know that Triple R and Arrow, for example, they're along a big trend in the Athabasca Basin. And what we've done is we've discovered the start of a brand new trend in the Athabasca Basin. So we've got 14 kilometres remaining of this trend, which we've been really busy out there looking at our targets and, how we would go about drilling that trend. Because as we know in the Athabasca Basin, you can have 600 million pounds of uranium along a trend. There's many examples of these trends. And, it's very significant that we found a brand new trend in the Athabasca Basin. I mean, I don't think that really people understand the significance of that, and we've got what we've got ahead of us.
Right. Okay. So the significance is potential, right? But you've only got so much money. You've only got so many drills turning, and you've got to work out where you allocate your capital. You need the best return on capital invested. So is that for you, Gemini or the GMZ zone? Because you've got a big portfolio, haven't you?
Well, we do, and that portfolio is very valuable in the Athabasca at the moment. I think it's really important that people understand the value of our portfolio. So we've got Wares and Tower, which, any company would absolutely kill themselves to have. They're absolutely brilliant projects. And you can't go around and just stake ground anymore in the Athabasca. So this is, you would have seen the recent transaction, Consolidated. One of the main things that they said was, we wanted to be in the Athabasca, So you can't go out and stake. You have to purchase companies. There's value to portfolios. We've built a tremendous portfolio over the past 3 years. So yes, I hear you. Obviously our focus is on Gemini because we have that initial discovery there, but the value of our portfolio can't be understated. And we've been sort of working on building the value of that portfolio as over the last 2 years. So, for example, we've just done an initial drill program at Tower, which obviously we intersected uranium and that alteration that I was talking about, which is very key. So uranium pathfinders, alteration, and, anomalous uranium in the ground there. So once again, it's 10 kilometres from Cigar Lake. Couldn't be a better project. And then we've got the Wares project, which is really a dead ringer for the Hurricane discovery and Rough Rider discovery, the circumstances upon which they were discovered. So, if there was any company out there that was going to have success, we have set ourselves up for success. We've got Gemini, we've got Wares, we've got Tower, we've got the ability to raise money. We do very well, and we've got the success behind us. We are really, really good at exploration as a company. And, that was proven by our fourth drill hole ever as a company. So it's in our DNA.
Okay, you're finding uranium, you've got a portfolio. But again, sub $100 million companies have got, they've got to get the strategy right. I get the market is doing a lot of heavy lifting for you. We're saying, uranium at spot price like $72 or thereabouts. It's really moving through the phases, and quite frankly, producers should be getting on the business of producing. But for companies like you've got to get that balance between how do I not dilute the heck out of shareholders and yourselves, and how do I advance these projects and maybe kind of find some sort of monetary value in them. So you mentioned ISO and Consolidated, that big merger this week, a couple of days ago. do you have any intention with some of these assets? You're talking about Werris, you're talking about Tower, you've got Clover, you've got Powerline, you've got Cypress, you've got Clover. You've got a lot going on. You can't possibly advance all of these yourself. So what's the plan?
Look, I'm an ex-M&A lawyer, so I will always look at M&A opportunity. And that could be at the project level, it could be at the corporate level. But really, as a CEO, it's our job to really work out what the best deals are for shareholders. So, we are active. There is certainly a lot of interest in the Athabasca at the moment, which, again, we've seen from that recent transaction. There are companies that would absolutely love to have a position in the Athabasca. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of companies, that are going to be listing on the back of this, amazing uranium price that we have at the moment. So it's about to get super busy. M&A is about to get really busy in the Athabasca. That's what I would say. And that is at the project level and the corporate level. And we're already seeing the start of that. We've already seen it in Africa as well with recent M&A activity there as well. So it's, it's common for every market which has a very strong commodity and strong commodity fundamentals behind it.
Right. Okay. You're an ex-M&A lawyer, so you know what you're talking about. So let me ask you this: and it comes back to the question. It's like, what do you do about it though? Because you want to be, you got to choose the right. Okay. If you do a JV or sell or whatever kind of structure deal you do with someone else on one or more of your assets, you've got to pick the right partner. You've got to have the right deal for you. And ideally in this market, for equities, you want some cash involved with that one. So come back to that question. What are your plans for your assets at the moment?
Look, as I said, we're active in the market, and we're happy to have discussions with people about any of our assets on either of those levels. We will always act in the best interest of our shareholders. There's some cracking deals out there, and we'll always look to get the best deal possible.
Right. Okay. Very good. I wouldn't like to play poker with you. You're giving nothing away. Okay. So tell me this then, just sticking with the M&A for a bit. Obviously, yeah. ISO Energy is a big shareholder of yours, right? So they're just announced a sale with Consolidated. We had John Jensen, I think sits on the Consolidated board, was commenting that this is quite good. This is going to be, building larger companies with diversified geographical risk is a good thing. Having different projects in the portfolio is a good thing in terms of de-risking, etc. You said we expect to see more M&A over the next few months or so in a high uranium price environment. Your thoughts on that particular deal? Is it good for the market? Is it indicative of anything?
Yeah, look, I think obviously with the fact that ISO is my major shareholder, I can't comment too much about too many things, but the obvious things that really I noticed about that transaction, and which I think are fantastic for both parties, is it creates a bigger company, right? And the reason why bigger companies are good from a corporate perspective, I'm talking, and a capital perspective, is the capital markets, it enables you to raise more money, for starters. More funds can participate in your stock, so that brings about liquidity for your stock. And it also gives you sort of more notice in the market. So that $1 billion market cap that they've put their two companies together, is, I think, I think it's fantastic for the market. And I think it's good for both companies as well. In terms of their projects, I'm not going to comment too much on their projects, but I can see why Consolidated want to get into the Athabasca Basin. It is the best jurisdiction in the world for uranium. It's got the highest grade deposits, some of the largest deposits, and frankly, some of the best NPVs behind their projects as well. So if you look, for example, at the NextGen's Arrow deposit, that's a cracking discovery. And why wouldn't you want to have ISO Energy's exploration upside that they have? So they come with an excellent exploration team and obviously some brilliant exploration upside, but also the Hurricane project, which is the highest grade uranium project in the world. So for them, I can 100% see the value
in
this M&A transaction.
Right, and we can expect to see some more of it as well. Okay, so let's come back to you, because this is all about you and what you're doing with the company. Next drill season starts when?
Yeah, so look, it's obviously the break over in Canada at the moment. So the weather's becoming a bit inclement, and so we'll wait for that to break, and I think we'll be able to get back out there in sort of late January, early February. So not too far off, and it gives us plenty of time to really get back and analyse the data that we have, really build our geological models and understanding a bit better, and, work out where to next. So obviously we have that direct drill program that we're going to do on the structure, but also along that big, long, broad trend that we'll be looking at as well.
And you'll kind of announce to the market what, the results of that analysis and what you're going to do at some point, obviously. And it sort of comes back to, as Fraser used earlier, best allocation of capital, best return on capital invested. For you, clearly that's the drill bit. You're an exploration company. How are we for cash? Will you be needing to, as all exploration companies do, go and raise some capital and get after this in a much more aggressive fashion next season?
We just did a raise. We did a raise about a month ago. So we're good for cash at the moment. So I wouldn't anticipate a capital raise anytime soon for us. We're certainly fully funded for the next program. We have the ability to get out there and do a very solid follow-up drill program from what we've discovered in this last drill season. And, I think that was the drill program that we had to have to get to the next level, which I think is going to return those results for investors that they're really looking for. So it's exciting for, the next program.
What do you think investors are looking for? Because like I say, the uranium's kind of doing the work. Some of the juniors perhaps not saying all the love that they think they deserve. And again, coming back to you, what's so special about your company? Why do you think your company's going to make it where others perhaps won't?
Well, I think what's so special about us is that obviously we have the right team, we have the right projects, we have, the right past results. I think we're onto something pretty spectacular, and it will continue to grow. And I also think we have excellent access to capital. So we've got some great shareholders behind us as well. So not that we need to raise anytime soon, but, we've really got the makings if we need it. And I think also the important thing is that we have the right team. So, for example, we just hired Sadar out of Denison. He's been there for 17 years. I've come out of Extract, where, I was heavily involved in the sale of Husab for $2 billion. Obviously, really familiar with the uranium cycle and the way the market works. And of course, so we've got the team, we've got the projects, but also we've got this uranium market that's moving rapidly. So what this does is this provides leverage, massive leverage and potential upside. And I think you've got to look back at past examples in history where the money is normally made in the cycle is in the exploration plays. And I think we've got all the makings to be that next Extract in this cycle.